Hello, my name is Arthur, and in the last video we were fixing some of the problems with line of sight function, and I'm going to fix the last problem with that. So it's kind of working, and yeah, it's given me the impression that it's working, but it's also kind of not working. So if we look, the vehicle's actually unresponsive. It sooner or later sees the player, but he's actually driving a ways. If we were to play a little bit further and go into one of the other vehicles, we would see that even more prominently, like he's unresponsive. So what I figure is actually going on is the raycast is set to exclude parent, but it's also the child of other collision shapes. So this scene is a child of collision shapes also. So I don't think that it's actually excluding those, and it's kind of running into the fact that it's down here and encountering the collision shape of its own vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to take line of sight right off of the vehicles. So we're going to take it off, and we'll take it off of this vehicle. We'll make some changes here that'll make it a little more appropriate and make it work better. Rather than having to script in a bunch of exclusions, let's get it doing what it should do in the first place. So we're going to start it off disabled. And we'll enable it in script and disable it again in script. So let's go to unit first. Up here with cam, let's add a variable, line of sight equals preload, and we'll just copy out the path for that. So we'll copy the path for line of sight and we'll paste it up here. And that'll work. Then down here where we instance a camera, let's borrow this piece of script right here. So we'll borrow that, we'll copy it. Let's go back up to ready. So on ready, we're going to go if is in group enemy. We'll paste that into there. Let's get the spacing right. Seed equals line of sight. Line of sight instance, and that way we can instance it right onto the camera mount, because all of the vehicles have the same pieces. So the enemy vehicle has a camera mount too. So now that laser's going to shoot out of where the player's camera is, and it's not going to have the same interference of collision shapes in its way. So let's go into line of sight. So here, when it looks at, we're going to go $ raycast. Let's get to the right scene so we get hints. Raycast dot enabled equals true. So we'll enable it here. And here, when we have a target size of 0, we'll disable it. So $raycast dot enabled equals false. So now it'll turn on and off. Now, another problem that's going on is when it's looking at a vehicle, it's looking at the vehicle's origin. So basically, it's pointing at the vehicle at its bottom, because its origin is down here on its undercarriage. Whereas if we were to look at what we have going on in the turret, we gave position 3D to define a target area. So each vehicle has a target area that's more or less at its center mass. So let's get the Let's get that line of sight looking at that center mass instead of looking at the undercarriage. So that would be right here, global transform origin. We'll change that. Let's see. Oh, that's one too many periods. So that makes more sense. That makes that line a little too long though. So let's fix that. Let's go variable position. So we'll go variable position equals, and we'll cut this out. So we'll cut that. We'll change that to underscore position. And we'll paste this up here. And that will get us where we have our lines more in the length that they should be. So let's see. Is that everything? I think that's everything. I think that'll get us working nicely. So now we're instancing a line of sight onto the camera mount. So let's see how that works and see if the enemy vehicle is more responsive. So we'll just get our camera turning around, and he's turning around right away now. So let's just get to the other Jeep, because with this Jeep the delay in turning towards this Jeep was very prominent. So we'll be able to see what goes on with that. So the raycast is turning off. We can see that happening. And yeah, the vehicle was driving way up to here before it would turn towards the player unit, but now it's turning right away. So now it's very responsive, and there's no interference from the vehicle's own collision shape. And we can see that the line of sight is coming from up where the camera mount is. So I figure that will work better. Now we can see I've made some changes to the HUD where we now have a vehicle image in the window. I've moved where the accept button is. So we only have one vehicle now, so that will be more difficult to see. When this window gets refreshed, it gets a thumbnail for the vehicle that would be selected. So in the next video we'll come back and we'll have a little look at some HUD stuff, but that's it for this video. That gets the line of sight into what I would consider to be about the most functional state I'm going to get it into. So I hope that was helpful, and yeah, it took a bit of debugging, like 3 videos now, to get that line of sight working correctly, but that's kind of the way it goes. So that's it, and until the next video, take care.